Hi, welcome to the Colorado Law School webinar. My name is Brad Bernthal. I'm an associate professor here at Colorado Law, and my specialty is business law with an emphasis on entrepreneurship and early stage financing. Delighted to speak with some of you today and look forward to your questions. In terms of a couple of framing comments, we're going to introduce the 5 individuals on the panel in addition to me. At the outset, I want to emphasize that we're real proud of what we've been building here, especially around business law, entrepreneurship, and intellectual property. These are areas in which Colorado Law School is a national leader, and at least from my vantage point, as I compare notes with other professors and programs around the nation, if you are interested in pursuing a path that's business law and entrepreneurship and orientation, you're not going to do any better than what we have to offer. So with that, I'll say 3 things. First of all, as you're evaluating schools, I would encourage you to think about course offerings, co-curricular offerings, that is, things on campus outside of courses, and the surrounding community, with the goal that at the end of the day, you really want to become a trusted business advisor as a counselor. So you want to think about places you can go to law school that are going to make you a trusted business advisor. And in terms of introductions, I'm going to tee up Jason Mendelson first. He's a co-professor of mine in a venture capital course. We've been teaching this now for 8 years here, been very closely involved in the program. And Jason can speak a little bit to the innovation scene here in the Front Range of Colorado.
So in my spare time, when I'm not an adjunct professor at CU, I'm actually a full-time venture capitalist and co-founder of a venture firm in Boulder called Foundry Group. I'm also the co-author of a book called Venture Deals, How to Be Smarter Than Your Lawyer and Venture Capitalist, which is all about how to do VC deals, entrepreneurship, starting of companies, raising money, and whatnot. I got infected with the CU culture about 10 years ago when I moved here and realized that what Colorado Law was building was incredibly special. I went to 8 different law school, one that I learned a lot of traditional subjects and bored my way through 3 years, and then found what I really wanted to do when I was done with school, and that was be an entrepreneurial and business lawyer with a focus on IP, and this place does it the best. The partnership between the community and the school is second to none. Most of the entrepreneurial activity happens here in the law school. It took us many years to train the entrepreneurs to come and hang out here. But if you come to school here, you're going to be gracing the same halls as venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, and other people who do this for a living but come here to learn, meet with students, and basically make an entire community. Boulder, for those of you who don't know, is actually the 3rd or 4th largest startup community in the country at the moment. And we see no reasons why it won't continue that way. And it's this partnership that we have between the city and the school that makes this place so special.
Sierra, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Sierra Moeller. I am a 3L here at the law school focused on entrepreneurial law. By way of background, I grew up here in the area, moved away, but then decided to come back here because of CU's program offerings. I wanted to be involved in the entrepreneurial community and all the amazing things that are happening both here at the school but also around campus. So I'm involved in several different programs that are all fairly interdisciplinary. We have our on-campus venture capital competition called the New Venture Challenge, where students put ideas to motion and actually form businesses. It's completely cross-disciplinary. You have undergrads all the way up to PhD students working on their ideas all year long that culminates in a competition at the very end of the year. We also have an on-campus venture fund, which I'm currently managing director of. It's a small seed stage fund, so we make very early stage investments in primarily like CU alumni but also early stage ideas. So people who are working on some of their ideas, they have gone through some of the programs, including the New Venture Challenge. We will actually make an investment in them and perform due diligence. So I actually get to be a venture capitalist thanks to a wonderful board of advisors who are community members as well as faculty all across campus. And then I'm also a student currently in the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic, where I get to actually be an attorney and have clients who are small business owners who need help forming their businesses.
Perfect. Stephanie?
My name is Stephanie Drum. I'm a 2L and I'm focused on corporate and business law with an emphasis on technology companies. I actually have a bit of an unconventional background. I transferred here from a school in Texas after my 1L year, specifically for this program because it had such a great reputation. And since I've transferred here, I've had the opportunity to participate in the Tech Lawyer Accelerator program, which partners with local companies to allow us to really learn tech-specific issues and work with those companies. I've also gotten to attend quite a few of the Silicon Flatiron Center events, which are a great way to get involved with the community and also network with a lot of the businesses and lawyers in the area. I also had a great chance to take Professor Bernthal and Jason's venture capital class, which was really, really interesting and really helped me learn the entire entrepreneurial context.
Hi, I'm Savannah Schaefer. I am a third-year law student. I am primarily focused in telecommunications policy advocacy type stuff. I was an English lit major back in the day, a testament to the fact that you don't have to be in a tech background to do tech stuff. I took advantage of the DC Summer Scholars Program here, which we're really lucky to have Dale Hatfield and people like Brian Tremont from Wilkinson Barker Knauer helping usher students into internships in DC industry and public interest groups. I also participated in the telecommunications advocacy clinic, which was amazing, and you get some really unique experiences doing advocacy work that a lot of clinics don't get to do. I'm also on the Technology Law Journal, which is fantastic here. And I've taken the full gambit of IP classes, also the VC class, which was stellar, and telecommunications, most of those sorts of things.
Awesome. So you can see that we've got panelists who have basically can cover the suite of offerings that are at Colorado Law as well as those that are across campus and talk about the community. If you've got questions, please send them to everyone, and that way we'll get the questions as they come in. In terms of getting things started, Jason, you are advising someone who's considering multiple law schools. What sort of framework would you suggest people think about, and how does that fit into what CU has to offer?
Well, I think one of the things I would think about is, what are you going to do after law school? I think that CU is uniquely positioned that if you have a law degree and you're integrating the community, the world is your oyster, whether that you want to be a traditional lawyer, whether you want to go into a startup, whatever you want to do. I think you should look at your law school and say, what are the opportunities on the other side? This is a big commitment, both time and money. And what is that return on your investment going to be? And I think when you figure in the cost of tuition here at CU, along with the opportunities that are inherent here in the CU network, I don't think anybody can match us.
Sierra, in terms of your experience, you've done a lot working across campus as well as within the law school. Talk a little bit about the experience working with MBA students, engineering students, and how that informs your experience here.
Sure. So I think the opportunities I've been given to work kind of cross-disciplinary is fairly unique, I think, as far as other law schools go. My experience working with MBAs and engineers has demonstrated to me how critical it is to really be an effective attorney. You have to understand multiple sides of the business. It's not enough to just be incredibly effective in your legal background and legal theory and case books and case law, which you'll get plenty of that in your courses, but to actually be able to translate what for some engineers think is a very simple idea into business terms that the rest of the world can understand is a very valuable skill that attorneys need and is often used. So my opportunities to work with MBAs and engineers on a cross-disciplinary team has been essential to my learning as far as being, to your point, a business partner, regardless of where I take my skills to practice.
All right, so we have a question. There's actually 3 questions here, so this will seed things. First is job placement opportunities available to those interested in entrepreneurial law. Second, projects that you're currently working on. And third, tell us a little bit more about the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic. Let's start with job placement opportunities. And maybe, Stephanie, you can say a little bit about the Tech Lawyer Accelerator Program, job opportunities out of that. Savannah, you can talk a little bit about job opportunities out of the DC Accelerator. And then Jason, you can talk about some of the things that our students have taken forward. Stephanie, you want to start off?
Sure. So the Tech Lawyer Accelerator Program partners with great technology companies, not only in the Denver, Boulder area, but also in Silicon Valley. It provides some great networking opportunities with huge companies like Cisco and Webroot and every company you could possibly think of. So it's great not only to learn those tech-specific issues, but also to have an opportunity to network with leaders in the community and the law firms that represent them. So the opportunities that I've had are focused mainly in the Boulder area, getting to know the law firm representing the company that I've been partnered with and potentially having a job with them coming out of law school.
So the DC program is fantastic in terms of networking in general. You do a Spectrum kind of introductory class at the beginning that's co-taught by Dale Hatfield and Brian Tremont, who in turn end up being mentors and huge advocates for everybody in the program. And then they've, to my knowledge, placed people. I was at the FCC. There were people at the Federal Trade Commission, AT&T, public interest groups like Common Cause and Public Knowledge. We had someone at it was like a video game advocacy group, very creative things. Mostly, I mean, they told us going into it that if there was something you were really, really interested in, they would figure out a way to connect you. And then throughout the summer, while you're in DC, they have a seminar every week where they bring people from every part of the ecosystem. We had people from the Hill come and talk to us, commissioners come and talk to us, partners from major law firms, and you get a chance not only to listen and hear great advice from them, but also to talk to them one-on-one and introduce yourself.
And so just to transition, to be clear, these are opportunities that are on the table for our current students.
Right.
Internships and summer opportunities, and it's important to underscore that they're across geography, ranging from Silicon Valley to DC in terms of the scope of that. Jason, wind it forward. What's it look like after school for some of the alums?
So we've had alums go to some of the biggest entrepreneurial law firms in the country, both here locally and in the Silicon Valley and out east. We've had alums, well, I've hired a couple. So I guess that's not such a bad idea for some of you. There's been a whole bunch of alums that have ended up at other law firms. They've ended up in-house at tech companies as part of the general counsel's office. It's been everywhere. There's really, a push here that we want every law student that comes here, regardless of what they're interested, to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And it's that mindset which allows you to connect with the people who are hiring, to empathize with what they're trying to do, whether it's inside a law firm or out. And we've really been very pleased to see where our students have gone. Some are in venture funds. It's all over the map. But as I said the first time, the world truly is your oyster here because of the practical training that you're getting.
All right, well, let's transition into talking a little bit about the clinics and classes around the relevant areas here. And one of the questions about the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic, Sierra, I'll take that first, and then I'm going to punt it over to you as a student. So for those of you who are doing your diligence, so just drop my mic, you can tell the difference between a news broadcaster and a polished individual and a professor by how many times they drop the mic.
Well, that and the sloppy fitting shirt.
Sloppy fitting right now.
But now they know.
I am wearing shoes, though, and pants, so that's good. In terms of the clinics versus classroom experience, clinics within a law school setting are more like the labs of a law school where you will do real work for real clients. We have at least 2 clinics that are relevant to those who are watching this webcast. The first of which is an entrepreneurial law clinic that I lead. In the entrepreneurial law clinic, third-year student attorneys do real work representing startups and emerging companies in the community. So typically, I like to say that we specialize in companies that are blissfully ignoring their legal needs or resorting to self-help. Think about a software company or maybe a company coming off the campus, commercializing some research here at CU. And our student attorneys, do the important work of getting a choice of entity analysis done, forming the business, deciding the equity or helping implement the equity split as to who's going to own what among the founders, protecting the intellectual property. And this is work that transitions very well into business practice. Sarah, you've been working as a student attorney this year in the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic. You want to give an example of something that you're doing without compromising client confidentiality?
Sure. So I guess the big piece that I would say that is pretty unique in the way that the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic is run is that we actually have supervising attorneys who are practitioners here in the community. So I've been able to work with several different members of the community from several different law firms and get the benefit of their feedback and the different processes and mechanisms that they use and be able to apply that to the work that I'm currently doing with my clients. My clients are, exactly to Brad's point, they're small business owners, one of a small family business working on needing some formal processes now that they're going to take their business online, as well as a young individual who has a great idea for a startup and didn't have the financial means to be able to actually afford an attorney. So.
Quick word, Savannah. We also have a tech policy clinic for those of you who are policy minded. You were in the tech policy clinic last year.
Yes.
A quick word about that.
Well, it's directed by the phenomenal Blake Reed. And I think to the entrepreneurial point, I don't think you can really be an entrepreneur at this point and not think about regulation in some context or another. The tech policy clinic does a really good job allowing people from all sorts of different areas in the law school to come in and kind of engage with regulation in some form or another. We typically take on more public interest pieces than others, but they end up bleeding into pretty much every area of law that I've looked into. So,
Jason, we've got a question here. Benefits of the dual degree with the business school. So this would be for those of you who are interested in potentially doing an MBA and a JD. How do you size that up?
So if you're really interested in potentially being a business operator, it can't hurt. The program is a strong one in that the students get between the buildings pretty easily. And I think the collaboration between the business school and law school here is unlike where I went to school, which was a rivalry. This one is a real partnership. And I think that is absolutely key to this program here, that the schools work in tandem to help each other out. We have plenty of business students coming over here to the law school, and we also export plenty over that way. So if you're really interested in being an operator, it certainly can't hurt. There were a couple other questions of people had particular interests in biotech and energy and pharmaceuticals, and the question of how applicable is what we're doing here. We've talked a bunch about software. That's my problem. That's my fault because I mostly invest in software, although I would encourage all of you to go buy Fitbits. That's our hardware device. We were investors, so please help a brother out and go buy a Fitbit. But generally, as I mentioned, our goal here at CU is to give everybody the entrepreneurial mindset. And if you start from there, and we have a class called the Philosophy of Entrepreneurship, which really attempts to get everybody in that mindset. All of what we're teaching, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's venture capital, whether it's the law clinic, is broadly applicable to any industry. Yeah, there's some things on the margin. I used to work for a firm that did biotech. I used to be in a firm that invested in China and India. There are always regional and subject matter differences, but in general, we're teaching the broad spectrum of how these things get done. And we've had students go into all these, natural foods, clean energy. We've had students take our programs and end up in those industries.
Yeah, plus one. And then in terms of biotech specifically, since we've got a couple questions about that, it's worth highlighting something called BioFrontiers on campus. It's led by a Nobel laureate, Tom Cech, CECH. And BioFrontiers is sort of like the Pixar of the campus, where they've got this really interesting mashup of a computational scientist next to a biology deep expert next to an organic chemist. And BioFrontiers is engaged across campus, not just in world-class research, but also in commercialization. That's going to be an interesting story to wind forward, and something that I think is going to be more and more impactful in the Boulder, Denver community. Another question is, how many graduates stay in the Boulder, Denver area after law school? I can give some impression of that, but maybe just quickly go down the line as to where the panelists here are intending to set up their practice or start their professional career. Savannah?
I'm looking in DC, but I wouldn't be opposed to Denver. Would love to stay in Denver also.
Stephanie?
I am definitely planning on staying in the area.
I'm looking here in Colorado, but I'm also looking in Silicon Valley.
What's your impression, Jason? in terms
My
of-
impression is that the people who want to stay here can. There are plenty of jobs in the area, and the question is, where do they want to live and what are the particular opportunities for each person? But we're not, I've said about the school I went to, I guess I'll just call it out. I went to University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. You have to leave Ann Arbor. Like, it's a great school, but there's no jobs in Michigan.
One thing, if I could chime in too, at least in my experience job searching, every professor, the dean, everybody that I've worked with, that I've approached about the job search stuff, they've gone over and above trying to connect me with people that are getting me where I need to go. I think that's a unique atmospheric thing in some ways to Boulder and possibly in more of the developing industries, but it's been really nice having that kind of support from the CU community.
Yeah, so I'll highlight two things off of that. One is, I don't recall exactly what our faculty to student ratio it is something 10 to 1 or 11 to 1 overall. That's not to say that every class that you have as a first year is going to be 10 to 1. It's not. But it is to say that Colorado law relative to other law schools is a much smaller, more intimate environment. And that leads to things like, I know Savannah and I will meet with her during office hours and be happy to help in a personalized way. I think I'm typical among professors in trying to help and take an interest outside the classroom along those lines. My questions just went away, but I know there was a question about the health law certificate program in terms of biotech law. I think the answer to that, and if anyone wants to jump in, please do, is that the individual who's been leading that is Professor Matthew, and she has been working in federal government for the last year, and I believe will be back next year at CU Law. Why don't you follow up with me offline on the health law certificate? I'll connect you to her and get you more information on that.
How do they get in touch with you?
My email is on the website, Brad Bernthal, or brad.bernthal, BERNTHAL, at colorado.edu, and happy to follow up there.
We've had a lot of questions about IP. One of the things I'm really excited about is Professor Harry Surden's Intro to IP, where he basically does all of the IP disciplines in one class. And while it's high level, that's also a pretty unique offering. That doesn't exist other places. I would have killed to have something like that when I'd gone through school.
Yeah, I took that program, and it's been really applicable to me, not only on the venture fund side, where we work with a lot of folks who are commercializing research in clean tech energy, biopharmaceuticals, and other like tech software, obviously, but also in my actual other classes. It's amazing how many cases you'll be reading in a corporate setting or in a securities class where it actually is really helpful to have even kind of a baseline understanding to be able to apply to IP. And then, of course, obviously, if you're like Savannah or some of the girls down at the other end and have a real interest in IP, you can take deeper classes. We have a class on copyright, trademark, patent, and some others.
And Savannah, there was a question. You mentioned that you did not have deep scientific or technical experience coming into law school. Was this a disadvantage going into the field? And if so, how did you get up to speed? And did Colorado law facilitate that?
Okay, so I would say it depends on what you want to do to a certain extent. If I wanted to go into, really serious patent prosecution, I think that would be a little bit more problematic than what I'm doing. But largely, I think it's been really helpful having the literary background because it gives you kind of a different approach than other specialists. A quick pitch for the journal, or join, if not the Technology Law Journal, which is my personal favorite, but joining a journal, I think you've got a lot of opportunities to specialize and catch yourself up in really specific ways if that's something that you want to do, and that can give you kind of a competitive advantage in the marketplace.
So I'm going to put a fine point on it. For those of you who do not have technical backgrounds, any area that we're talking about are on the table except for patent prosecution, for which you really do need a technical background. That said, at Colorado Law, we put a lot of emphasis on what we call domain knowledge, which is things that in order to practice in an area, you need to know that are not legal per se. And I'm going to tee up Jason to talk a little bit about how that comes out in, say, the VC class. And then Stephanie, talk about how you came to the VC class. And we emphasize a lot of domain knowledge, especially around startups and what makes businesses make it or break.
Yeah, I mean, look, my background is law as well. Now I'm a venture capitalist. So the transition can happen. The question is, who are your mentors going to be? And I think here at CU, we, especially when we look at the VC class, it's not just about the deals. In fact, the complaint we get from the law school students is there's not enough case law. The complaint from the business students is, what's case law? And then the complaint from the engineers and the other people who come take the class is, what's going on? But it is all about what is going on in technology. We spend a lot of time talking about technology. We talk about trends. We talk about how people innovate. We talk about the innovator's dilemma. We go through not only the theories, but actually on the class changes every year because it might circle around 3 or 4 things I'm trying to research and figure out about. But I wouldn't get concerned outside of patent prosecution, not having a technology background. I grew up in downtown Detroit, so there wasn't a lot of technology there. And I'm one of many people who've become a lawyer who's then gone into a tech field.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with Jason on that. The venture capital class really provides a good foundation for you to take and apply to all of the opportunities that you have in internships and working with law firms and companies going forward. And if you are worried about there being some sort of lack in technology knowledge, we actually just implemented a technology literacy series that allows for students to come in and really learn about these basics that you can then go and apply, and it allows you to jump right in. And what I'm experiencing through the Tech Lawyer Accelerator program is that I'm able to really follow the conversations at work and jump in and kind of overcome that initial learning curve and really get involved in the projects.
Final topic you want to take up?
We're all available. I'm Jason at foundrygroup.com. Email me if you have any questions. You're on the website. You want to give your emails, and anybody's got questions, they can email you?
Sure, yeah. I'm sierra.moeller@colorado.edu.
I'm stephanie.drum with 2 M's at colorado.edu.
I'm savannah.schaefer@colorado.edu. It's Savannah like the city, and Schaefer, SCHAEFER.
Cool. I'm sure we violated several privacy laws in completing this.
I didn't ask anything about HIPAA. How did that test? Never mind.
I don't know. All right, so I think I'm looking down for cues from our admissions folks as to whether we are good to wrap. I guess we are. Hopefully this has been helpful. Please feel free to reach out to us. As you probably get some feeling for, there's been a lot that's invested over the last 10 years in building a program that we think is a national leader. We are tremendously proud of the students such as those that you're meeting right now, and we're happy to answer questions in order to get the right people here to Colorado Law next year. With that, thanks.